Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Charles. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to episode 6 of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, the Crypto Guy, and today we're talking with two of the head honchos from Beaxy Exchange. So Franklin is the head of marketing, and Artak is the founder. And today they're going to be going over why they created the exchange and then some of the stuff that went into actually creating it. So how you guys doing today?
Doing great.
Doing great, everything.
Awesome. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate you guys coming on to talk about this. You know, it's kind of perfect timing with this Cryptopia hack to kind of have someone who's in the process of creating an exchange and kind of bringing light to, you know, what goes into creating an exchange. So, but before we jump into that, can you guys both kind of just touch on your backgrounds, what you were doing before Beaxy, and then we can go from there?
Of course.
Sure, I can start. I have bachelor, master in computer science. I'm a developer guy, IT guy. I have more than 10 years experience in creating cool stuff that we use every day. Worked in IoT industry right before this, developing like a smart housing for different hotels. That you most probably used in Vegas and New York, and was related to crypto. I'm a miner, I'm a trader, and as I'm a developer, I just decided that I want to build something, not only be a user for this industry.
Yeah, so on my end, I have a background in psychology. So got my master's in consumer psychology and was kind of interested in studying human behavior in the marketplace. Just what makes people, tick and how do you kind of relate to them with marketing, branding, and advertising. And so worked for a market research consulting firm, doing really a wide variety of different market research methods, and got some exposure to some, Fortune 500 clients, a lot of major tech companies. And that was a great kind of introduction to what the business world demands from a marketer. And, prior to that, had actually worked with a few friends on some different startups, scaling some social media brands, building sustainable internet-driven businesses. And, then I started to get into crypto and created my own crypto social media brand. And I haven't left the rabbit hole since.
Perfect. Yeah, so it sounds like your guys' backgrounds kind of directly feed into your roles at Beaxy. Artak with your developing and Frank with your marketing background and degree in psychology. So this one's more related to Artak and a question specifically for him. We know your background. Now, can you tell us why you created Beaxy and kind of what some of the core values are behind the exchange?
Sure. So after being a user for crypto exchanges for a pretty long time and getting into more of a community, I was a part of a private community which has like a couple of thousand people. Kind of OG style people. Everyone are like getting a lot of projects there introduced. People coming for millions of dollars to that community, to be honest. And so what happened every second time? I mean, Bitcoin was pumping, dumping, whatever. You were noticing that there was no Binance at that time. It was Poloniex and Bittrex. It's not comparable what Binance and Coinbase does right now, but at that time it was pretty bad. So people were complaining all the time, and my biggest complaint was that if I want to buy an altcoin, I need to go through like a three different exchanges. A lot of people don't understand how this works, so they freak out when they buy something on Coinbase and they need to send to Bittrex and wait for 12 hours to get your money there. So this was the main two things that I see, that a stability of exchanges and the user friendliness of having one place where you can send money and you can buy whatever you want there. So this was the initial idea behind Beaxy, to have I would say for today's people to understand, having a Coinbase and Binance in one and having a better matching engine and better tech.
I remember when I first got into crypto and I was trying to buy alts on some exchanges. It was buy here, send the Bitcoin to another exchange, wait for it to confirm. If you didn't get the wallet right, then your money's gone. And then buying that alt and then sending it to a wallet, offline. So it was a very stressful process to say the least, especially for someone who's not as tech oriented. So I completely understand where you're coming from there, and kind of why. And it sounds like the thought process, this is multiple years in the making. I think a lot of people see these exchanges popping up left and right and don't really understand that these things take years to develop, and there's so much that goes into it. So I really appreciate you talking about why you decided to create it. Can you, I guess, kind of talk more on the core values?
Sure. So I would say, if in two words to describe what we do in Beaxy, we're a community-driven exchange. So most of the things that we do is feedback from a community. Someone came and told, hey, can we have this? Why others exchanges doesn't support this? And we just looked into that, talked to a person, no matter who is it, no matter if we know the person, don't know it, no matter like you have 0.1 BTC or like 100 BTC. If you're liking of something on exchange, please come tell it to us. And most probably we'll have it already because we're implementing so many features right now. But this is how we got all the features on Beaxy. Security side, I mean, I was really thinking before this Cryptopia hack that like everyone has a normal hot wallet, cold wallet structure. But when you're losing $3 million worth of Denta coin, which the whole market cap is 5 probably, or whatever it is, or 50, you shouldn't have this much money in your hot wallets. So I repeated this many times that probably everyone has the same level of like a hot wallet, cold wallet security, but now I doubt after seeing this. So we are all about security. We are an exchange. People need to trust us. If you are sending money to Beaxy wallets, my number one goal is I don't sleep at night too, and I think how make sure that like no one lose funds on my exchange because I'm responsible for your money. This is number one thing. Number two thing is the user friendliness and customer support. I'll be probably very captain, very obvious things. It's like we make money because of the customers, so we care about customers. If you don't like as a customer how our exchange works, how it looks, how it's uncomfortable or like whatever it is, it means we're doing something incorrect. So we spent, to be honest, until today, after 18 months of working, we tweak the UI. So and like if you think globally, the exchange is just one page. It's a trading pair page that 95% time you're spending on, but it just looks like that. We literally wasted like so much time of doing a design, then like I just sit overnight and like, okay, I don't like this. If I would be user, this is not ideal. And we change it all the time. We change it until today. We're going to go live in a week. We still change some small things on it. So it's an ongoing process from like making the UI better. As we go live, more people will see it. They will send us their feedback and we'll make it better and better all the time. Customer support probably is the next biggest thing. We're going to have this AI bot, and we're writing this knowledge base, which probably Franklin can talk more in depth. And it's going to be all these small things, how to register, what trailing stop, let's say, or whatever. So if you ask these questions, the bot is going to send you the answer right away. You don't need a human to do this. So we're kind of trying to, because 85% of questions asked to customer support is written in FAQ usually, and we're trying to kind of make an AI bot which will be answering your questions automatically. If you feel not satisfied, you can say, I want to talk to a human, and like I just talk to a person. So yeah, but I mean, I can just keep going, to be honest, but probably this will be like my top three: security, UI, user friendliness, and the customer support. Like this is our main goals right now.
Yeah, and I'll tack quickly onto that. I think the other thing that we excel in is performance. And this goes back to our matching engine, which was developed in collaboration with a company called One Market Data and their One Tick product, which has been servicing legacy finance clients for decades. And these include some of the largest and most prestigious financial institutions in the world. Regardless of your perception of those financial institutions, you can respect the technology. And so our matching engine is literally like orders of magnitude faster than comparable exchanges. And actually, to reference an earlier point you made that exchanges take years of development, truth be told, they don't typically, right? So what we see a lot of these quote unquote competitors doing, exchanges that have come out recently, is taking an out-of-box solution and slapping a UI on it and calling it a new an innovative product, when in reality it's not. There's no fundamental innovation from the matching engine. they haven't really updated their security tech. Again, like Artak said, we just assumed that most people had the same kind of hot wallet, cold wallet structure that we do. And again, we've taken a lot more pains to make it perfect, but the fact is they don't. And so it's kind of funny to me that there's been such a lackadaisical attitude among crypto exchanges about innovation, about real security, and about attention to users. So I think those are the things that we've tried to fix.
You guys touched on a lot there. I kind of just want to review some stuff because I think you guys are hitting on some of the hardest hitting topics right now. I'm on Twitter a lot. I see a lot of people in comments, when exchanges post. It's always complaints of when's this going to be implemented? When can we get this done? And I think some of these exchanges are so far detached from their customers that they're forgotten almost. So that community feedback, that customer service, I think it's essential to any new exchange and any exchange that's already up to continue to thrive. So I like that you guys are touching on that. And then real quick, right at the end there, Frank, you mentioned some of the actual performance in the tech, and you brought up, you're right. I mistakenly said that, many exchanges are years in the making. I think I was more geared towards you guys with what I heard, from multiple years ago, where this thought kind of came in that a new exchange needs to be made. You are right, where many of them just kind of alter a couple little things and no real changes are made. So
it's a rebrand,
That's
exactly what they do. And this is the best response to, I think, any doubter of us that I could give is like, you have to honestly ask yourself, why would we wait a year and a half or more to debut this product? Because that's been our development cycles, a year and a half, and steadily adding on to that to deliver this product if we weren't trying to deliver something radically new and different, or if we had anything less than the best intentions in mind. If we wanted to scam or exit scam or whatever you want to call it, we would do the same thing these other exchanges have done. Is we'd take an out-of-box solution, we'd brand it, we'd slap a UI on it, we'd create some buzz, and then we'd go on about our day. What we've done is instead build something from the ground up, and that takes a lot of time and energy and effort. It's much harder to build something from scratch, as one may assume, than it is to start with something that's already kind of built.
100%. I mean, I feel like at the end of the day, the main point of an exchange is to make money from people trading on the exchange. So, I mean, if that's what you guys were about, you would have done exactly what you said, and you'd have been up and running a year and a half ago. So I think that really does build some confidence in users, or maybe people who are thinking about making the switch or at least trying out the exchange. So a ton of stuff there that we jumped into just based on, why Beaxy was created. Now, can we dive into the details of actually getting the exchange created? I know you've talked about some of it already, but can you talk about creating the team, navigating laws, any kind of laws? Because I know people are very uncertain with that kind of thing. The marketing, development, can you kind of touch on those things?
Sure, I can start probably. So yeah, I'm trying to go back in time right now and think like how it was happening. And I always joke, if someone asks me, can you repeat this? Most probably I can. And what I did with this, but the first hire ever that I even talked to was a lawyer. So I highly recommend anyone who is starting any crypto project, you want to make whatever on blockchain, talk to a lawyer first. You need a lawyer on your team. Don't outsource. It's like you need a lawyer in your team who finds the solutions, not finding a problem, because we all know the problems. And in our lawyers, I just go and say, hey, this is the problem, what we do. And they come up with different risks, different ways how we should do it, because there is no certain rules written. And we see Gemini is trying to push on we need rules and we need regulations. I completely agree with them, to be honest. It's having no regulation is a chaos. I'm not telling we need to be regulated and they don't allow us anything, but I'm telling not being regulated is putting us under the danger, because we see so many projects in this 2017 raised $50-100 million. I mean, without giving any names, but I know projects like refunding money to US investors, for example, and because they didn't do any regulatory stuff. And when it comes to the distribution, they said, I rather return the money instead of like putting me under the danger. And the people invested with like a IFR to be $1,000 and get refunded when IFR is like $120. So none of us wants to be in this situation, and this is a project's fault. So I when I started this, this is not my first startup, so I know exactly how you should build it. Lawyers are the most important thing to know how to do other stuff. So if I would be just a developer, I wouldn't ever think about legal, about marketing. I wouldn't ever talk to Franklin and say, hey, let's do this together. Because in developers' mind, startup is, I'll just run a tech and everything else will magically happen because I created like a good app or something like this. So obviously for the exchange perspective, it's very important to have a perfect exchange. It's no doubt. I'm building an exchange, my exchange should be the best. This is what I think. From tech perspective, from user perspective, everything. But if Franklin wouldn't do his magic and people wouldn't talk about us all day long, who cares that I have the best exchange if I have 0 users? So there is always timing in everything. So we started working with marketing much later than development. We had the exact picture that like it will take another 6 to 8 months, let's say, to finish the project. And okay, let me find a guy who can like head our marketing. So there are many ways to do business, but I really think important to know when to do and what to do, and just have a priorities. And everything is equally important. Just there is a timing also on it. Let's say there is no point of doing marketing when I not have a developer. And obviously you need to do the marketing whenever you already have a product. You almost have a product.
It's a piggyback on that actually. So another strength that I've noticed that we have is our team. How all these people came together is kind of like Artak alluded to, a bit of a mystery to me. It feels like a puzzle that just fell into place. But of course that's not what actually happened. Going to meetups and recruiting these folks, being directly embedded in the community was a huge asset to us. All of us have that in common with Beaxy, I think, with maybe a few exceptions, but like 90% of the team were people who had been really deep into crypto in that kind of grassroots way. So they're part of like these communities, or they were attending meetups, and that's a great way to source talent. There's also the international aspect of it too, from a hiring and a cost perspective and a sourcing the right talent perspective. You need to look outside of just your local community or even your country, and you need to find people who actually can work for more efficiency. Basically, their salary relative to where they live is higher than normal, but relative to global business cost is lower than normal. Things like that are really important considerations. And then the variety of perspectives you get by hiring a multinational team is also super important. From the marketing side, like Artak said, I think the timing was important for us, was that we waited to start hitting the community until we had our working demo that had already been ready for some months. And we had built up the team to a certain point, and everybody had just bought into the concept. And then we're like, okay, now let's go. So there was a lot of holding back the dam, or holding back the river with a dam, and then all of a sudden letting it burst. I think there's a caveat to that though, right? And this was seen with Beaxy. When you release the dam like that, people get skeptical because they see so many scams in crypto, and all of a sudden you release a tremendous wave of new information about this new product onto the market, and people are going to be like, okay, that seems unrealistic. They must be lying, or there must be something that's not quite up to snuff here. And so I think we had a little bit of that pushback, especially in the way that we did our marketing. So as you may know, we did a referral-based campaign that was driven by influencers. So basically, we had influencers on different teams competing with one another for referral prizes, right? We thought this was an ingenious solution, and I think all things considered it was, but there were things that we didn't consider. We didn't consider how the community would react to half of their timeline being a Beaxy ref link, because that's what it was at a certain point. And no exaggeration there. Like that was quite literally what was happening for probably 2 straight weeks. And it pissed a lot of people off, and I think justifiably so. So I think you have to consider too, how hard do you hit people over the head with your marketing? We've seen Gemini's had some struggles with that for what I think was, all things considered, again, a genius campaign that regulations or revolutions need rules. They should have understood though that when you put out a message like that to a libertarian anarchist community, you're going to get some negative reactions. So I think, in your marketing, there's a ton of nuance, and it's very, very difficult to market in crypto because people are so ruggedly individualistic and they're very smart too. The average crypto user is way smarter than the average user of even other tech. And then you compare that to users in general, and they're, blowing them out of the water. So you have to consider that your audience is really smart. They're self-aware. They're very highly critical and aware of scams. So nuance in marketing is super important. I don't think we had it at first. I think we have it now. So that's another really important thing that I would consider for any project launching is have some nuance in your marketing, have a well-developed strategy, and be out there in the community. Listen to folks, develop your brand as if it was a person. Don't develop it as if it was some sort of pillar on the hill.
To touch on that one little marketing stint that you guys had, I remember my timeline was flooded as well, and it was
sorry.
No, okay, so I think it was pretty genius. You guys were the talk of the town. I think it did kind of bring a little bit of negativity to your guys' project, but I think overall it raised a lot of awareness. So there was a lot that got brought up there. I just kind of want to recap some of it for everyone who's listening, who's trying to maybe not just create an exchange, but just any kind of crypto project or business that they're starting. So Artak, you mentioned first and foremost, hire a lawyer, figure out the regulations. I think so many people forget this. This is all new. This is all very, very new, and the regulation is changing almost on a daily basis. So that's step one. Kind of after that, you want to start building up your team. You guys have marketers, developers, you've got the lawyer that you all brought together. And I think after that, what you guys talked about a lot was that you kind of want to build from the ground up. You don't want to launch a marketing campaign when you don't have your site developed even, or up and running to test. So I think you guys did a very good job with that timeline. And then again, that marketing stint.
Well, yeah, let me add to that, because I think there's an important consideration here. I'll say that I appreciate when the community calls you out on something, because it helps you get better. So we got, called out by Romano, who was like, hey, there's is it suspect, is it non-suspect? And that gave us the opportunity to answer people directly and, directly answer their concerns. And it actually built us a lot of trust in the community. I think what it's ended up with is now we're kind of crossing sides, that a lot of the, new influencers, I don't know, whatever you want to call them, the OGs as well, are kind of like, okay, Beaksy's legit enough. Like, let's give them a pass. I don't expect it's the last time we're going to get any flack from the community for something we do, because when you push the envelope on things, you're always going to get pressure. But I think it gave us the opportunity to create a dialogue, and that's all we ever. We wanted a chance to have a conversation with people. And the other point that I wanted to bring up is related to, and again, I hate using the word influencers. It's really kind of annoying to use, but these individuals who have maybe more influence, it gave us the chance to build legitimate relationships with them. And that was the whole focus the whole time. At the outset, we were like, yeah, maybe we just go pay a couple folks. And, but we always had, even at that time, the mindset to pay them if we were going to pay them, and have a long relationship with them and have them advise us, not just pay for tweets. I think that's really stupid. But we got past that and said, there's a better way to do this. We can gamify this. We can include referrals, which crypto loves referrals, even though they like to say they don't. And, that created something that I think hadn't been really seen before. But the most important outcome of that by far was the relationships that we built. And so now you see our launch party circulating, and you've got a ton of people that are coming to this thing, right? You've got names from across the board that are coming. That's because we built relationships with those people. They're flying in from out of the country, out of the state, to come and share that experience with us. And those other projects that we brought there too have become, friends of ours. And so I think there's an importance to building relationships. That's maybe the one thing we didn't talk about in that last couple questions that can't go overlooked. You must build strong relationships to succeed in crypto.
Yes.
I would like to add one more thing, a small nuance, because I was thinking, if I would be a guy who want to start a new business now, you're telling like a hire a lawyer, it's probably, lawyers are very expensive, right? So, and everyone will say, oh, I'm a startup, how I can pay, I don't know, $500 per hour to get a lawyer to. We have 60 plus people, and probably like 5 get salary. So you don't need to hire. You need to find the person who believes in you. You need to find the person who trusts you, trust in the project, believe in the project, and share with them equity, share with them tokens, whatever. We have a lot of people working for a token. Our lawyers are regularly, they're charging like $500-800 hourly, but they work for like a small equity in our company. So because you just need to not to be greedy, because greed never wins. It's like you need to understand you better do something correctly and build correct stuff with correct people.
Yeah, I think just to put the icing on the cake of that, like we're all insanely dedicated to this. Like it is bordering on unhealthy. we all hang out nonstop with each other. We give crazy amounts of time to this project. Like it is our lives at this point. You know, there is quite literally no more important thing to me other than my family than this project. You know, and we have joked that we would like take a bullet for Beaxy before, and it's partially a joke, but it's partially true. It's like, you know, when you work for something that's bigger than you, you have a sense of purpose. And I think inspiring and hiring people with that idea in mind is really, really important. And Artak's an inspiring leader, so that helps. But I think you have to get people to buy in order to do that kind of hard labor for, you know, months on end in many cases without direct compensation. And so you need to hire with that sort of inspiring sense of purpose.
Right on. I really liked a lot of the stuff you guys touched on there. Again, it was a lot for everyone listening, so I kind of want to just touch on 2 main points from that last little bit. I really like that you brought up the whole damage control of talking with influencers and hiring those influencers, because I was going to ask about that. So one, I appreciate that. I don't think anyone has this negative outlook on Beaxy that they did when you first started your marketing campaign. And then this whole idea of giving equity away instead of paying, I fully support this. You know, a lot of these companies that are getting started up, these projects, they don't have the funds to be paying people like you were saying. So, you know, it's kind of a win-win. You know, you guys may not have the funds to pay people, so you pay them in equity, they get some equity, and that incentivizes then those people to work harder than they normally would if it was just for, say, a salary. So many great points. I really appreciate you guys talking on all of that. There really is just so much that goes into creating an exchange. We could sit here and talk for days, honestly, but let's kind of move on. I know your guys' site is launching, the exchange is launching in the very near future, but can you guys speak on what you're most excited for in 2019 with regards to, you know, your exchange, 1, and then 2, you guys are kind of, you know, at the forefront of a lot of stuff in this whole space. So talk about cryptocurrencies as a whole, what you're most excited for.
Yeah, I'll jump in on this one just because there's a few things I can't disclose right now, but you could probably guess by now that I took the marketing playbook and I threw that straight out the window when I started. I was like, there's nothing, you know, there's not much in the kind of traditional marketing world that I'm super inspired by. I do like advertising, but I consider advertising kind of a slow drip approach. It's, you know, water on the rock. But I am really excited by like groundbreaking, totally innovative marketing techniques. You know, my goal as a marketer should be and has to be pushing the envelope every single day. And so that includes doing things that have never been done in crypto before. And there are a few things that we will do this year that I can guarantee you have never been done in crypto before. So there's a lot on the marketing front that I'm really excited by. You know, as you know, one of our core tenets is the advanced trading tools that we'll be offering. So these advanced order types, excited to start debuting more of those to the market, you know, growing our user base. And one other thing that I think I'm really excited for is, you know, getting fiat onto the exchange. So having those fiat pairs be available, and we're making a lot of great progress on that. We have some really crazy stuff on the partnership side that we've been working on. I can't say anything more on it yet, but in the coming months, a lot of that stuff will be revealed. We've played a lot of cards close to our chest, and it's finally getting the time to play them.
It touched on fiat. I was hoping to tell. I don't know, not related to Beaxy. I mean, I really want to see other projects that are delivering stuff. After spending like 1.5 years sitting in a basement and like developing this, like so after spending all this time, I mean, like a very hard working talking to community, getting more feedback, building that stuff again. It's like I really want to see others who raised $50 million. I want them to deliver. It's because every time we think like if I would raise, like a lot of people telling me you should have done the ICO in 2017 with the idea. Like I mean, building something with like $50 million in your bank account is easier, and like we may not do this as good as we're doing right now with all that money. So I really hope all the other people who sits on pile of cash, I mean, they can spend it on the correct place and deliver to community who invested into them. So we need crypto to have a good name, and by delivering more stuff to a real world case that people can take their phone out and I don't know, use some app to buy whatever, and like this supported by blockchain and crypto is very essential, very, very fundamental thing for us, I think.
Yeah, 100%. This last year, we've seen a lot of projects really put their heads down and start to develop their products, and money's being poured into infrastructure. So I think everyone's extremely excited for that. I wanted to just touch on something that Franklin had mentioned. Your marketing is great. You bring up this buzz of, oh, we're going to be pushing the envelope, but I can't tell you yet. And you've gotten me very excited. Honestly, I can tell you that.
I try not to do too much of that kind of stuff because I don't want, the Tron style
announcement of.
No, but I mean, like, seriously, there's so much stuff. It's crazy. I mean, I have to pinch myself very often at the kind of conversations I get to have with the kind of people I get to have them with. I think we're trying to fundamentally, like, radically change things. And so when you do that, you end up getting caught up in this like vortex of like, where am I even going? I don't even know where I'm going. I'm just going down this rabbit hole of innovation, and who knows where you come out on the other side. But it's exciting, and like I said, I try not to do the announcements too often, but I couldn't help it here.
No, I like it. I mean, that's your job. You're head of marketing, so I think you've piqued interest by saying that, and you left it at that, and I like it. So one last thing that I wanted to go over, I know you guys already kind of touched on building up Beaxy from the ground, so you've kind of touched on this, but if you guys, if the site disappeared tomorrow, you couldn't launch in the next week, and you have to start from scratch, step one, what do you think the first thing that you would do is? What's the biggest tip you've got for people trying to break into an industry and create a business?
People is the key. I mean, I'll just say sentence. It's like one person is nothing, a group of people is everything. You need supporters, and no matter it's a developer, it's a marketer, it's just a guy who can support you. Obviously, you need investors. You need everything. There is no one thing which is the most important thing. And to be honest, mistakes are the most important thing. You need to do mistakes to learn. So just never think a best case scenario. Always think the worst. So if you plan with the best case scenario, you're going to fail, because best case scenario always looks amazing, always. And but you need to be ready for like a worst case scenario and plus a little bit more. So, and whenever you have the resources to implement this, you are in a good shape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's very similar to what I would say. Operating a business in a lean way, like those lean startup principles are, important ideas for a reason. If we had raised some ungodly amount of money, I don't think our product would be nearly as good. Instead, we chose to not raise money on an idea, and we chose to work on the product with the funds that we had, and then do continual fundraising throughout the process as we needed more funds. I think that kept us much more honest. It's made us much more hungry. We've made much better relationships, and we've learned how to use money in a more responsible manner. So that's super important. Like, fundraising is important, but you don't want to focus entirely on it. You should focus on building your product, building a great team before even that. That's going to be what carries you to the finish line. And then just the perseverance that you need to do anything in business. It's going to be a lot of frustrations. It's going to be a lot of time. There's going to be delays and knockdowns. And like Artak said, you're going to have more losses than you have wins. I've always said working in a startup is more about how you navigate and get over losses than it is about how you celebrate wins. So you have to move gracefully from loss to loss to loss with wins along the way to carry you through. but it's more about how do you get over a defeat or, you know, a local battle that you lose to win the broader war. Those are the people who succeed. You know, the Jeff Bezos example comes up of, you know, him looking like a scrub sitting in an office, you know, randomly in like 98 or something. That picture gets circulated, right? But what's the story behind that? How many failures and sufferings did he have to go through to be the richest man in the world? Countless thousands, you know. So it's that perseverance is my other piece of advice. Don't give up. You're probably right around the corner from a win.
You know, all of those things kind of really speak to the integrity of the team. I really appreciate this, guys. You've gone over, you know, pretty much everything on, you know, if someone wanted to go start an exchange, obviously there's minute details and you could talk for days about that. But I think you've given us a general overview of why you guys started, where you guys are headed, all the effort that really went into this exchange. So I'm really excited.
Absolutely. You'll be more than welcome. And I think we're excited to finally show this thing to the world. And as a last note, I'd say it never hurts in business to have something that nobody else has. You know, that's a great way to market. That's a great way to position your team, your brand, and your business. And so, you know, Beaxy has a variety of different things that we think no one else has. But if you can do no other things with your product or your business, try and find one fundamental innovation that nobody else can capitalize on, and you'll do pretty well.
Perfect, Frank. Up until the very end, you're just dropping
them.
Yeah, honestly, you know, insight after insight after insight up until the very last second of this podcast, you're you know, firing them off. So thank you guys both so much for coming on.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much for inviting.
All right, guys, if you liked what you heard and you want to give Beaxy a try, head to the description. There is a referral link that will be in the description, and that will grant you access to Beaxy, and you will become a platinum member, which means that for the first 2 months of trading, you'll get a 20% discount on all trading fees. Thanks a lot, guys, and be sure to let Franklin and Artak know what you think of the site. All right, guys, that wraps up another episode, and I just want to take a quick second to ask you a huge favor. If you found anything in the episode helpful, or it's been inspiring to you in any way, I just ask that you share it with your friends, family, anyone you know on social media, and hopefully we can help them out as well. Have a good one.